Imagine it's your best friend's birthday tomorrow. His name happens to be Mark. You're throwing him a gigantic birthday party with all of his favorites. Pizza, beer, wings, and most importantly, carrot cake. You call in an order to a local bakery because sometimes it can be hard to find. Now the big moment is almost here. People are waiting for you to bring out this cake. You're in the kitchen, you're excited to open this small plain white box. However, you see this. Happy birthday, Mark with the C. Unfortunately, this type of communication happens in our daily lives. Are you able to identify the type of miscommunication here from our textbook? If you said differing perceptions, then you are correct. It's safe to assume that the caller took you too literally when you said Mark with a C when you placed the order. Now in this video, we're going to talk about different types of communications and how to combat them. More specifically, nonverbal messages, personality differences, and word meaning confusion. Now let's talk about nonverbal messages. I want to start with an activity where I perform nonverbal cues and you guess what message or emotion I'm trying to convey. Are you ready? Did you catch those? Crossed arms, no eye contact, minimal facial expression, inhaling deeply. These can relate to anger, frustration, or disinterest. Now, although there are common nonverbal cues, they're not the same for everyone. Culture, age, and gender can definitely impact these. So you want to be careful assuming. Now, I have an example from work where I assumed just that. This customer had an issue with his iPhone, and if you don't remember, I work at the Apple store, and during my conversation with him, during my time with him, I noticed him checking his watch, looking around, pacing back and forth. I took this as disinterest and he was in a hurry. So I was very brief with my explanation on how to fix the issue, and I was very short with my answers to his questions. Now, near the end of our time together, he stated that he no longer wanted my help, and he said that I was condescending. When I reflect back on that interaction with that customer, I read all his nonverbal cues wrong. And then one thing I would say and do differently is actually ask if he was in a hurry or ask if he had understanding. So that's my tip to you guys. Ask. Now let's talk a little bit about personality differences. I really love the way that our book explains this. It states that each of us responds to others based on our personality. Now, while doing research for this video, I discovered a fun fact about the Battle of Trenton that shows this. The Battle of Trenton was part of the American Revolution, which was a war between the 13 American colonies and the British Royal Monarch. Essentially, we're fighting for independence. George Washington was leading our side, the Continental Army, and up until this point, he had not been very successful. He decided to make one last bold move and cross the Delaware River to attack the town of Trenton. Now, Trenton was being guarded by Johann Rall, who was German. Unbeknownst to Washington, he was being spied on by a farmer. This farmer decided to rush to Trenton to let Rall and his guards know that Washington was on the way. When he got there, however, his guards stated that he did not want to be disturbed, so the farmer wrote a note. The guards gave the note to Rall. Rall put the note in his pocket, and the next day, Washington won the war. Now, this is a good example of personality because Johann Rall didn't ask for an interpreter. He didn't ask to someone to translate this. He was too prideful to let people know that he could not speak English. The last miscommunication that we're going to be talking about is word meaning confusion. The best example that I can think of is from the movie The Princess Bride and the word inconceivable. Now, if you're not familiar with the movie, it's a 1980s romantic comedy about a farm boy who is in love with a princess named Buttercup. During the movie, the princess is kidnapped by a trio of bandits, one of them being named Vizzini and the other one Inigo Montoya. Now, throughout the movie, Vizzini will use the word inconceivable to describe situations that are literally happening before his eyes. Webster's dictionary defines inconceivable as impossible to comprehend in the absence of experience or knowledge. So essentially, impossible to happen. Now, Inigo Montoya understands this, and he comments, "You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means." Another definition of inconceivable is hard to believe. In this case, Vizzini is using the correct definition. He just simply overuses it. Now, this also goes back to my original tip, which is to ask. Although Montoya did not ask what he meant by inconceivable, he does comment. So again, I encourage you to ask for understanding, ask if there's confusion, simply ask. You may be wondering, how does this help me? Understanding the different types of miscommunication can help you prevent it from happening, whether it's with a coworker, a friend, or a significant other. Now, we talked about how nonverbal messages, personality differences, and word meaning confusion can cause miscommunication, sometimes even losing wars. Now, if there's any type of confusion, just ask. If you think you should ask, just ask. I'm going to end the video with a quote from George Bernard Shaw. It states, "The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place." Thank you so much for watching my video, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.